welcome to Light in the Dark podcast. I am your host, Lady B. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to stress the words trigger warning. Topics discussed today may be triggering to some. You have been warned. Also, neither I nor the guest are licensed therapists, psychologists, counselors, etc. We are only sharing our experiences and or testimonies. If you need a licensed therapist, psychologist, counselor, etc., please seek a licensed therapist, psychologist, counselor, etc. There is no shame in getting your mental health together. I repeat, there is no shame in getting your mental health together. Now, on that note, let's start the show. Today, I have with me Cheryl. And today's traumatic topic, is going to be divorce. Been there, done that. Okay, Cheryl, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We understand. Well, for me, I've been there, done that a few times, unfortunately, with kids and without kids. Two totally different scenarios. First marriage didn't work out, no kids. It was a lot of frustration. It was a lot of, I wasn't myself. I didn't get a chance to really be who I was. I was trying to be something and compromise quite a bit to the point to where I lost who I was and I wasn't comfortable with myself. Fortunately, the first one, it didn't end really in a lot of violence or anything like that. It was a peaceful divorce, no kids, so that made it even better. Um, Friends afterwards, which was helpful. Didn't communicate that much, but at least we kind of departed, and it wasn't on major bitter terms. Um, and then second marriage, two kids. This is the one where I was
Trigger warning.
beaten, talked down, you name it, belittled. This is the one that tried to he tried to kill me. I almost succeeded, but the Lord intervened, and the cop showed up and saved my life. That was really a deal breaker, obviously, for a divorce, but it was tough because you have kids. My kids at the time were like three, just starting preschool and kindergarten, things of that nature. So I had to uproot everything and try to figure out how to move on, by myself, a single mom. But the thing about it was, it wasn't a huge transition for me because even though I was married for 10 years, I say about the last 5 or 6 years, I was already living in single mom mode. I was already there because he wasn't there. He was out just doing his thing with other people everywhere you can think of and just living life. And, it was just me and the kids. And I got so used to it. And my self-esteem, of course, lowered and lowered and lowered to the point to where it's like, well, why? We were so good at first and all of a sudden start to deteriorate. And I'm like, start thinking, okay, it has to be my fault. It's something I said, it's something I did. And he would try to control and make me feel some type of way. I want to say gaslighting. It was a lot of frustration, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, mental, physical, emotional. Husband cheated over and over and over and over again. I sacrificed quite a bit just to send him to school. Never acknowledged that, never cared. I just compromised to where I was like, well, I did everything I thought that would make him happy to where maybe life would be better. I didn't think about myself. I just put myself to the side and was like, okay, let me do everything I can to make this marriage work. And I was losing myself more and more and more. I couldn't see what was right in front of me, what the obvious was, because I was so determined to make this marriage work. Of course, icing on the cake was when he tried to literally kill me. That was a deal breaker. And of course, the divorce happened after that. Been a single mom after that. But like I said, I saw the signs years ago. I just held on because it was embarrassment. Like, oh my gosh, I have kids with this person. What are people going to say? What are people going to think? I know they're probably going to think it's something I said or something I did. I just had all these horrible thoughts, these thoughts as if, I was taking all the blame, all the pressure, which was not the case at all. I just compromised and tried to make it seem like, um, if I did this, if I changed, if I modified something about what he doesn't like, then it'll get better. And it only got worse because I pretty much gave him the floor to just treat me any kind of way. And I took it, and I made him comfortable, made him feel like, oh, okay, well, she's not really going to fight back, so I can do whatever, and she's not going to do anything about it. And that happened for years. And it took him almost killing me to open my eyes to realize I could have left years ago. But again, the embarrassment, not sure about how to move on by myself with kids, it was kind of scary. But when I was literally pushed in that situation, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Life just kept going. Nothing was really interrupted except for the place I live. We just moved to a different spot. And life kept going. God kept stepping in. I promise you, God kept stepping in. Every time I was concerned about, well, how am I going to get the kids to school? How am I going to get this? Somehow the Lord knew. God has perfect timing. I'm telling you.
That's
When
true.
I didn't know, when I wasn't sure, I'm like, Lord, I'm just trusting you. He made sure, and he took care of me and my kids. I'm telling you, from day one till today, he's been there strong. And I just wish I would have made that decision a lot sooner to get the divorce. Um, it would have been a lot healthier for myself, and for the kids. But it is what it is, better late than never. But as long as, that light bulb comes on and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm making a stand. I don't want to be treated this way. I've done everything I could. It's not working, Lord. And of course, I got the pass, the free pass of when, your spouse tries to kill you. That's pretty much the free pass to get a divorce and try to move on. But yeah, that night and day, first marriage, no kids, very young, just kind of experimenting. Let's see where this goes. Didn't work out, no hard feelings. Still friends. Um, Second marriage, totally different. Kids, drama, you name it. So, but I'm here. I survived it.
Thank God for that. A disclaimer: we are not therapists. That's my disclaimer. Short, sweet, simple.
Yeah. We're just here to tell our stories, real life stories. Um,
Speechless for a moment.
yeah, I mean, because I know, yeah, it's not always the easy subject. Most people will keep it to themselves, or I don't want to talk about it. It's emotional. It's draining. It's stressful. It's a lot of things. Brings out a lot of emotions. For me, you name emotion, I've had it and lived with it for years. It took me a minute to really, really just let it sink in, but I was really relieved once I got the divorce because of everything that happened prior to. And it's just, I didn't feel like I could move on or could find anybody else, or I just had all these horrible low self-esteem thoughts during, but afterwards it's like, whoo, I don't even care. It does not matter. I'm free. I'm free to be me. I'm free to just live life how I want to live it. And that's what I'm doing. Um, and it's so liberating. And not to say, and I'm not encouraging divorce, but there are some times, especially, like in my case, when they literally try to feel you. That's a really good, strong sign. You might want to separate yourself from that person before you end up like a lot of unfortunate ladies that passed away, from abuse. It's a lot of people out there that didn't survive it because they stayed in a relationship too long. God held on to me for some reason. He held on to me. He's like, man, you've been through this for so many years, but I'm gonna keep you protected. And he did. I have so many stories where he protected me, and he opened that window. I guess the only way for him to get my eyes to open and realize you need a divorce is for him to go that far with me. Because if he hadn't done that, I probably would have tried to stick it out a little bit longer just to see. I would have tried to just, okay, let me see if I got all my T's crossed, my I's dotted, just to make sure, because I don't want to have no regrets of doing this and all of a sudden it works out or whatever like that. And God kept tugging on me the whole time for years. You already know. I'm gonna keep telling you, and God know how to get people attention. He definitely got my attention, but he also helped me the whole time too. I can't say nothing but okay. I hear you. I heard you. Okay, I'm sorry it took me so long, but here I am. So that's really pretty much in a nutshell. It's not fun, but it's possible to get through it and come out on top, be successful, move on, and live your life.
I was not going to go here, but something you said has taken me here to where I didn't think I was ready to go. So my first divorce was amicable. The relationship was toxic. The divorce was amicable. As weird as that sounds. In this marriage, I wished it had ended, amicably and peacefully, but
yeah,
God still got me, like
that's the point.
I'm still here. Life is still going on. My bills are still getting paid. Like I'm surviving. And speaking of surviving, I may as well just continue to go with this. I didn't think I was gonna be speaking, honestly. I honestly thought like, okay, you was gonna talk about divorce and we was gonna let that be that. So since I'm here, then I may as well keep going. Yeah, back in January, and me attempting suicide. And one of the reasons why the enemy will talk to you, I'm so serious. One of the reasons why I attempted it was because he and I were going through just a lot of things and a lot of conversations and a lot of emotions, and I wasn't in the right headspace. And I felt like, okay, well, I can't live without this person. You should never, oh my God, ever feel like you can't live without somebody. But I was in that space. So mentally I was messed up. And I was like, you know what? This pain hurts too much. The thought of, us not being together hurts too much. And I would just rather end the pain and not be here. And so, yes, I attempted suicide. And I thank God that God was like, okay, no, it's not your time to go. I'm gonna let you sleep for, I think it was an hour and a half that I slept. He's like, I'm gonna let you sleep for 90 minutes and I'm gonna wake you up. But you have, some things that I need you to do before I call you home. And I'm not calling you home when you think you want to go home. Like, but yeah, like so much has happened since January and now we're in August and so much has happened. Like he and I are no longer together. We haven't spoken to one another in like almost 2 months. I may as well keep going with what it is I'm about to say. So I filed for divorce. I started school back in January. Like the podcast came in June. I wrote a book and then published it. Like that happened this year. The clothing with the podcast stuff on it, the logo and stuff happened this year. Things that were in his name. I have stuff in my name now. Like the car that was in his name, I gave it back to the car dealership and, got a car that's in my name. And the amazing thing about that is that the features that I used to tell him that I wanted in a car and that he told me that he would do and he never did it are in the car that I have now. And like the payments are cheaper. God is amazing. I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, he is.
It's like, when I think things are getting bad and I remember thinking, that like, man, 2 years ago we had issues and I'm like, my husband is my covering and my covering left, and God was like, okay, but I'm your covering. Like he may have left, but I'm your covering and I never left you. Like you're gonna be all right because I'm still here. And I remember, it was like, well, I gave you that car. I can take that car from you. Like you don't own nothing. And I hate when people say, I gave you something, I can take it from you, or I made you who you are. And it's like, no, you didn't. I'm one of those people. I say, God made me, Jesus saved me. I feel like didn't nobody give me nothing. Whatever I got, the Lord gave it to me. He may have used, a human as the vessel to which it came through, but he's the ultimate provider. In and everything I have now, the Lord gave it to me. My life, the Lord gave it to me. Like he gave it back to me. What I tried to take, and he gave it back to me. And it's like I have a new lease on life. Like my last birthday, I was super excited because I tried not to be here 6 months prior to that. Man, like my intentions were to not talk about this. It's really not, but
that was why I picked this subject.
Yeah, I was not gonna talk about it.
Let you up because somebody needs to hear that. I'm telling you right now, somebody is going through or has gone through exactly what you're going through right now. And to see that God is working things out in the midst of the storm right now is a blessing in itself. Yeah, you're not completely at the end of the road, but you're getting there and you see a light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope and God's got you. Even though you're feeling some type of way, he still got you. He still got you. And that's the whole point. When people fear divorce, I feared for my life. That second one. I didn't know if I was going to literally survive or not. What I went through. And there was times where I just really thought I wasn't going to make it. And then there's times where I compromised who I was. And God kept pushing. He kept pushing. He kept making opportunities. And I didn't choose it. But then all of a sudden when I did, God was like, look, let me prove to you I got you. And I'm telling you, he's going to keep you. He's going to keep you. I mean, like I said, I chose this subject on purpose. Just because you're going through, you're in the healing process now. The fact that you can talk about it is a part of healing. The fact that you can testify that, okay, this is what's going on. This is what you just name like a million things that you're doing and continue to do, despite of. Okay. So, I mean, there's always something positive that's going to come out of divorce, even if you don't see it. If you don't see it at the end, it doesn't matter because we don't always see everything. We don't always see the big picture. But day by day, God gives us tidbits here and there. He gives us blessings. He keeps us. He holds us. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people that don't survive to get to divorce. Like I said, I was close to that. And that's really huge to me because it's like I could have died years ago. I wouldn't be here, but God allowed me to survive, to move on, maybe to be a blessing to other people to say, get out of that marriage. If your life is in danger, kids or no kids, You're not sure where you're going to go, what you're going to do, how you're going to get yourself set up. I'm telling you, things always work out. I had no idea. None. Clueless. Thinking I was going to have to uproot everything. But again, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of marriages out there. I'm not an expert in it, but I know it's a lot of marriages out there where there's a lot of single moms inside of a marriage. It's a lot of singles, inside of a marriage. Kids or no kids, you can still be living that life already. You just haven't stepped on to the other side to make it official, to move on, to get your life going in a different path or direction. But I'm telling you, I don't condone. I'm not a fan of divorce. I'm not a fan of it. Hence one of the reasons why I fought so hard not to go through it. But I had to get knocked on top of the head a couple of times to help me realize, first of all, I knew I shouldn't have entered that marriage in the first place, but I was hard headed and did it anyway. And a slew of things happen behind that. That's called disobedience. Divorce happened. That's bound to happen. But God is the most forgiving, the most loving, patient, long suffering. Okay, I'm gonna wait on you. I know you hard headed. I can tell you hard headed. So I'm gonna just keep giving you open doors and windows, and the more you ignore me, the harder it is for you to leave. But he kept at it. God kept at it, and he did not give up on me, even though I gave up on myself. I'm like, you know what, forget it. There's nobody out there for me. There's no way. I love this person too much. You can actually love somebody that's abusive to you, which is really, really bad. But at the same time, if you don't have the respect and self-esteem for yourself, you're not going to see what's happening to you. You got to be really careful. Try counseling. Counseling was an option. Counseling didn't work for us simply because he was in a mind frame of, well, I don't need it. Just let me do my thing. Okay. Didn't work. But me, on my end, I've done everything that I could think of. Pray, all this stuff. And I can imagine God looking at me like this, like, for real, you praying for this marriage, and I told you in the beginning that you shouldn't have went through it in the first place. But here we are, and you trying to help me save something that you shouldn't have been in the first place. So there's consequences to things that we say and do, despite what God warns you about. But at the same time, even if you make the mistake, even if you knew, didn't know, he's still there. And he still got you. He's still gonna be like, okay, here she go again. She's gonna make another silly decision, but I got you because I need you. I need you to survive this. I have purpose for you. And he stuck with it. God stuck with it. And, I'm sure the angels that's over me is like, whew, if this child don't, the light bulb, come on, light bulb. They was rooting for that light bulb. But in the end, the light bulb did come on. It took God to really, really let something, like you said, drastic happen, for me to really put my foot down, like, okay, that's enough. I can't take it no more. I don't want to live my life worried about if I'm actually going to live or not. If because I was in fear, like, okay, I think he's going to kill me. He's one of these nights he's going to do it. And God took me out of that situation before it happened. So, I mean, that's a blessing in itself. But I'm telling you, again, I'm not a fan of divorce, but I am a fan of you can survive divorce when it's appropriate. I really was the victim, and I allowed it to happen for years, up until the very end. Again, a lot of self-esteem, fear, uncertainty played a huge part in me sticking around longer than I should have. But yeah, every divorce ends in its own special way, depending on the circumstances. But it is what it is, kind of. Sometimes you really have to go through what you don't want to go through. Thinking, especially for those that think, maybe if I try this one more thing, maybe if I do this or act differently, or let's try this method. It comes to a point to where you don't want to stay in a marriage to where God got to put you in the situation where He put me, where my life was almost taken. It took that much. I took a lot of different types of abuses for years, and God's like, why are you taking this? You could leave. You could leave. But I kept making excuses for myself, for him, for the whole situation, hoping that, well, maybe something will change if I stay consistent with doing my best to try to stay into it. But divorce was the best thing. I mean, it was the best thing. It was the right thing in that situation. Anytime that you're in an abusive relationship, it doesn't matter if they say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Please forgive me. I don't know what happened. I could sense even his aura, his frame of mind, everything was changing. It was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Even when, and he never really apologized. He never said sorry to me to this day, which I've already accepted that apology without him saying it, if that makes sense. But it only takes one time. It only takes one time. And when that one time happens, you have to really make a decision. Are you going to keep compromising? Are you going to really start making excuses? It doesn't matter what situation you're in. God is God. He knows how to get you out. He knows how to take care of you. He knows how to put you in a safer, better path to where you need to be, to wherever you need to be in life. You don't have to feel like you're stuck. There's no way out. And I felt that way for years, especially when you have kids. Kids is sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, that could be a major factor in your decisions on, well, I'm hanging on for the kids' sake. I need both the mom and the dad in the marriage, regardless of how he treat me. I want both parents to be in the kids' lives. And I thought about that too. And, I was really trying to hang on for that because I wanted them to have mom and dad, because there's so many single mamas out there that's doing their own thing. And I'm like, I don't want to be in that group. I don't want to be in that group. I fought not to be in that group. But like I said earlier, I was already a single mom. Even though I was married, I was already living the single mom life for years before it was actually official. And that's why my transition was a little bit easier, because I'm like, I didn't know what was going to happen and how I was going to just move on. But everything worked out. Every situation I looked into, every apartment I tried to find, car, everything that I looked into, it was almost like it was laid out in front of me. And it was easy. It wasn't a lot of difficulty for me to keep things moving. And I know that was God. He had me. He was like waiting on me to kind of get to that point. But it's a lot of people that stay in marriages that, divorce is a healthy thing to do. If you love your life, if you want to survive, I'm put it out there. You may not survive if you keep taking it, because you never know. From day 1 to day 3, I felt in my spirit that I was getting close. I was getting close. Even after the incident where he tried to kill me, I still felt like the apartment that I was in, he went to jail. I don't know when he got out. I don't know if it was just temporary, but he had to go to jail, probation. Got the restraining order. He wasn't allowed. Obviously, he wasn't allowed anywhere close to me. Somehow, I'm in my living room, and all of a sudden, I'm hearing ruffled bushes outside the living room window. I'm like, what is this? He's out there like a peeping Tom, looking like he's trying to break in. So I've called the cops on him several times afterwards. And of course, you getting in trouble for that. So you got all kinds of records and just issues going on with yourself. Even after we separated, you know, he still could have attacked me and ended my life. And I was scared. I was terrified. Um, and he had no regard for the kids, you know, them seeing it or not seeing it or whatever. And it was just really tough. And I got tired of living scared. I got tired of living scared, uncertain. Well, can I go home? Is he going to, you know, pull up behind me all of a sudden and attack me? I had all these thoughts in my head because when you're sneaking around at night, walking around my apartment, trying to break in, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm calling the cops on you every other day, it seems like. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, the restraining order increased to the distance and all that stuff. You really can't go nowhere near. I don't think he's allowed to come near me like forever. um, I consider divorce healthy when you're in something serious where your life depends on it. Don't be ashamed of divorce.
All right. So this has been another episode of Light in the Dark podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Until next time. Deuces.